In a previous video, we examined the Attributes section of the Customize panel, allowing for easy and quick maintenance, modification, and adaptation of graphics templates via design parameterization. This video focuses on the Data Mapping section, which facilitates adaptation of graphics to different data sources. The data mapping functionality makes it easy and quick to switch motion graphics from one data source to another. This pie chart retrieves its data from the pie data table data source. Here is another data source, based on a Google Sheet, that contains the sales statistics for the European EV market. Since the pie chart has been constructed making use of the data mapping framework, it can be easily and quickly adapted to use the EV stats data source. Simply set the data source, then edit the mappings to reflect the data source fields to use. The graphics will instantly adapt to the new data, and all animations and other presentation features will be available as usual. To adapt Characterworks' large supply of presets and templates to your own data flows, that is all you need to know. If you would like to build your own projects or templates using the data mapping framework, keep watching to find out how. This pie chart motion is set up to use the data source pie data directly. We will modify this motion to use data mapping instead. Data mappings use the data source assignments in the Data Sources box in the Customize panel. So let's add a data source there to begin. Next, we add a mapping for each abstract data field to be used in the graphics. This pie chart has label, color, and value mappings. Each mapping corresponds to a different field, column, in the data source. To refer to data in graphics layers, we will use mapping names instead of direct links to data source fields. First, let's work on the text layer corresponding to the pie labels. We no longer need the data source assignment at the layer level, so we can delete that reference. We edit the CWML to use the mapping instead of the data source index and field name. In CWEL and CWML, if a field specification starts with the colon, it is understood to refer to a mapping name instead of a data source field directly. Therefore, in this example, we replace result with a colon and value. For the donut pie layer, we need to edit the expression in the sweep attribute in the path section to point to the colon value mapping. In the Materials section, The Texture Selection drop-down menu lists available mappings in addition to the usual layer data source fields. Just like the text layer, the data source references at the layer level are no longer necessary. Replacing all direct links with data mappings. Finally, changing the data source selection in the instancer to the suitable data mapping. We have exactly the same graphics as before, but the data connections are going through the mappings instead of direct links. Assuming we did everything correctly, instead of tediously editing each layer within the motion, we can just change the mappings and quickly adapt the pie chart to any new data source. Assigning a new data source and selecting the appropriate data fields for each mapping. Here is the pie chart showing new data as a result of just a few clicks. In this particular data source, there are multiple fields that can supply suitable values, and using mappings, it is easy to switch between those too. Characterworks gives you so much power at various levels to design, adapt, and run complex professional broadcast graphics.